it's Jan Beta, and if you are following my channel for some time, you probably remember my little Christmas series that I did last year about recreating my original Commodore 64 setup from 1987 that I got as a 9-year-old. And I thought, why not do something similar this year? It is not really a computer I got for Christmas, and I'm not going to recreate my first setup. I am rather going to recreate this, which is my father's first setup with the Amiga 500 that he passed down to me, so to say, when he got his Amiga 2000, that he again later passed on to me. And the beauty about this is that exactly this Amiga 500 from this picture from 1988 still exists, and I have it right in the lab here. The A1010 floppy disk drive that you can see in the picture still exists too, and so does the mouse. Even some of the disks still exist. Probably some of the disks in this picture still exist, but you can barely see what's on there. This year, I don't have the original one anymore. I never had a color monitor. This is a Commodore 1084 color monitor, and this is my, or in this case, in this picture, it's still my father's. It's an early Amiga 500. I think he got it in 1987, probably for Christmas 1987 when I got my Commodore 64. He bought himself an Amiga. He still had his Commodore 64 under the Amiga 500 for quite a while, and the Commodore 1084 monitor is ideal for that because you can hook up both machines simultaneously, and you can just switch with a little switch between the inputs on the monitor and have a picture from the Commodore 64 and from the Amiga 500. So without further ado, I'm going to announce what I want to do with this Christmas series. The first part, which is this part, is going to be about the monitor. I actually got one that is slightly broken from eBay. They usually are pretty expensive. Then I'm going to do a restoration of the Amiga that I still have, and probably the floppy disk drive and the mouse. I don't know if this is going to be a separate part or something like that. I don't really know the scale of this. I don't know if the Amiga still works even. I didn't try it out yet. I'm just happy I still have it. Didn't do any work on that. The disk drive I still have too, and I didn't test it, so there's going to be plenty of fun in the videos coming. And I hope to have the whole setup that's in this picture recreated by Christmas. So okay, that's the plan. Without further ado, let's get into it. So here it is. This is the one I bought off eBay for quite a good price. So as you can see, this is a Commodore 1084, just like in the picture. This one still has the flap here intact, which is pretty rare. I think they break off pretty easily. Power switch seems to be intact. This is broken in a way that the seller said that it has some color issues. I think the red color was missing or something, and I hope that it's just some dry solder joint or something easy, some capacitor leakage or something like that I can easily fix. These things are horrendously expensive these days because they break so easily, and not many of them are left in the world, I think because they just got thrown away. People thought they were completely obsolete. It's not in bad condition. The case is intact. It's a bit dirty. I don't think it's yellowed even. There's a lot of dirt on there, and we'll have to look inside. So this is quite interesting because it has a SCART input that you can use for RGB. It has a TTL RGB input. It also has the Commodore 64 Chroma and Luma inputs. This is the Chroma, this is the Luma, the red and the yellow one. And it has one audio input. This is a little switch you can switch the inputs with. This is a VCR switch that you can switch this input probably to VCR output maybe. I don't really know. I have to try that. Yeah, some picture adjustments, and that's about it. So on the front panel here, the power button is pretty worn, and the silk screen there is pretty, yeah, it's a bit rubbed off, but you can still make out that it says power. Maybe I'm going to rewrite it with a thin marker or stuff like that. I don't really know yet. And here are the horizontal centering, brightness, contrast, color, brightness, volume. You can switch between the composite and RGB inputs from here. That's pretty handy, so you can just hook up a Commodore 64 and something else and switch between the inputs, I guess. That's going to be pretty handy, and if I get this working, and this is going to be my main color CRT for a while, I hope. I don't really want to turn this on at all before I had a look inside. I'm just going to open this up and see if I can see something right away that's a problem. And I don't really know, maybe I'm going to see if there's a problem that's obvious right away, and if I can't see anything, I might try to turn it on and see. Okay, so this looks pretty dirty. I might have to remove the speaker there and just give this a little bath and a thorough scrubbing. So here's the insides. I think this part here is the power supply board. Can't see anything right away other than that it's pretty dirty. So I think I'm going to discharge the CRT by connecting the connections under this cap here to the ground, the chassis ground, which is usually present. There's this little wire around the CRT tube that is usually the ground connection. So you can just discharge the anode to the ground there. The whole CRT tube basically acts like a large capacitor, so there might be a charge on that, and I am going to discharge it. Although this has been sitting idle for like a year or something, it's pretty unlikely that there is any charge on it at all. If they don't discharge properly, there is like a couple of 1,000 volts on there that hurt if you touch them in the best case, and in the worst case they are going to kill you. So you don't want to mess with CRT tubes. You always want to be sure to discharge them and to be safe, just to be safe. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my discharge tool that I used before in my monitor restorations and discharge that first, just in case there's electricity. In some cases electricity builds up after a while again because of static electricity in the air and stuff like that. So yeah, just to be safe, I'm just going to discharge it. Please don't take my word here. I'm not a professional. Don't do anything like I did it if you are not completely sure that you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, so please don't take this as a tutorial or advice. Just do your own research. I don't want to be responsible for anyone getting hurt. So yeah, basically, don't try this at home. I'm just doing this as an experiment. It's my private stuff here. This is not meant as a tutorial. Always do your own research on how to do things, and if you don't know exactly what you're doing, let some professional handle it. So here's the little contraption I made. Just a screwdriver that I isolated the metal part of. Here's a clamp that is connected to a wire, and the wire goes to the other clamp that goes to the tip of the screwdriver. And I'm going to connect one end to the ground wire, like maybe here. Yeah, that seems to be a good connection. And then I'm just going to double check if I have a ground connection there. You don't need a large wire for that. I just want to be sure. Yep, and I'm connected to ground. You just want to be sure you have a connection at all. So now what I want to do is to take my screwdriver and get under this cap here. And in the middle of the cap there's contacts that are like little spring-loaded hooks that are hooking under the CRT there and are connected to inside the glass. There's another layer of glass and they're connected inside there. So yeah, in the best case you touch the contacts there, and you want to touch this as well because you want to get rid of any charge building up in the tube. So these are the connectors, like little yeah, that's how it looks like. And these are just gripping onto the glass there. So okay, this is discharged. Should now be safe to work on. If you are working on this for a longer period of time, you just want to discharge it again from time to time, because as I said, it might build up charge depending on, according to some experts I talked with, it is depending on moisture in the air and stuff like that, and it might build up charge in some cases again. Let's have a look inside and see what we can do. So apart from it all being ultra crusty, and there's like little, there's a lot of dust in there, and I think I'm just going to go in there with the brush and dust it off. Okay, I cleaned this a bit. It's still pretty crusty and I have to get the circuit board out. But as far as I can see, there's no bulging capacitors. There's a lot of these little pots on here, and if it has a color problem, there's probably some of them are for adjusting the RGB. Maybe probably these ones here, like on the neck of the tube. And there might also be, you can just pull this off. I'm sorry for the shaky cam, by the way. You can just pull this off. There might be some contact issues there. It doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to clean that as well and reconnect it. And maybe then just fire it up and see. I'm just going to clean all the pots and the connections on the tube here. Hello! Okay, I think I found something. Look at this, which is a transistor, I believe, that has been soldered, hand soldered on, and there has been soldering on this. Solder joints have been redone on this transistor and on this one here. So somebody has been in here and has been some soldering. And I can see, so I don't know if it's possible to see, but let me get something pointier. Screwdriver. So there are these joints here, the three ones on the left have been redone. These here look a lot like dry joints, like they have little cracks in them, and it is, I think, the connector for the different colors. So it might very well be that there's something going on there. And this is very fishy as well. So I definitely have to redo that. So there's a whole trace missing here to that. So I have to cut this, scrape it off and make a new connection there, or I'm just going to bridge it to where it goes, like here. So yeah, no wonder this isn't working correctly. This transistor isn't soldered in correctly. There are probably dry joints on this connector here. So what I'm going to do is to run a wire from here. The trace goes on like here, over to this pin here, and somewhere else, but it's going to be connected anyway. So I'm just going to run a wire to this pin here from our transistor, and I'm going to redo these solder joints. So that's probably, maybe that's all there's to it. So I'm also going to put some heat shrink tubing over the joint there to protect it from shorting out. Yeah, as many of you mentioned, I should really use a hot air station for stuff like this, so that's what I'm going to do. I have one, and now I have it ready on hand here. Just going to do the same on the other end here. Okay, just double checking the connections I made there. So this should be connected to this pin here. Yep. And it should basically not be connected to any neighboring pins here. It should be connected through to there. Yep, and it is. Okay, is it connected to the pin header here? Yep, that's a good connection. Okay, heat shrinking this part here as well. So there we go. I'm just going to redo these two solder joints here and then clean the potentiometers and give it a shot, I guess. Maybe it explodes, maybe it works. I'm just scrubbing this with some isopropanol gently. So I'm removing some of the residue. Scrubbing the other side too. And I'm just going to put some contact cleaner into the tube contacts here, as well as into the little potentiometers. So yeah, I can be sure I can rule these out. And you want to be careful with the neck of the tube, obviously, because it might be pretty brittle. So okay, I'm just going to put the case back on to be safe from the high voltages there. And of course I have to put this back in. Yep. Okay, so let's put the case back on, and then I'm just going to turn it on, I guess. There's no bulging capacitors to be seen. Might be that there is a capacitor blowing up as soon as I turn it on, but I want to be sure this works before I do any further restoration work on this. Might need some more repairs, so let's see. Just going to put some of the screws back in so it doesn't fall apart. Okay, I'm just going to try this without anything attached to it, so just to make sure it doesn't blow up when I turn it on, which might as well blow up. Okay, it just I just plugged it in and it just turned on. It was turned on actually. Okay. So it does something. It does something. Shows me a blue screen. Or purple screen. But there's no explosion yet. So that's promising. Let's turn it off again and see. So I now have the Atari 800XL hooked up to the monitor from the previous video, or from one of the previous videos, because it was the closest source of composite video I could find. So I'm just going to turn this one on. There we go. Look at that. We definitely have a picture coming from the Atari. Oh, okay. But it's kind of monochrome. And we have sound. Okay, sound works fine. Okay, the sound works fine actually. That's cool. So here's what the picture looks like definitely there. It has this purple color and it has lines, so there might be something wrong with some connections there. The sound works fine, so the connectors in the back are okay. It has like a red tint. If I turn the brightness up, it gets bluer, and if I turn the brightness down, it's red. So yeah, that's the brightness. The other controls seem to work fine. Contrast is fine. I might just go and test it with the actual RGB input. Maybe it's just an issue with the composite input. Let's try that. The lines are, there's something wrong with this thing, and the on-off switch, I think somebody manipulated that. The switch is clicking but it's not turning off, so it was probably a broken switch in here that somebody just bridged, so it is turned on all the time to use maybe a switchable outlet as the power source or something. So okay, this isn't going too well, but at least it works and didn't explode. That's a good sign, I guess. Okay, I have the PlayStation connected from one of the previous videos. Turning on the monitor again, and I can hear the high-pitched whine still a bit, even though I'm old. So the is working. I should turn this on. Turns on. Yeah, and there's our picture. That's how it looks. So we have serious color issues here. I can see the blue is working. The color pot doesn't do anything. The brightness does work. Contrast does work. Sharpness, not sure about that. The other pots seem to work. Seems that this works halfway at least, but not fully. So more work needed on this one. Okay, so this seems to work just fine, but it has a blue tint to it. So it might very well be that there's something wrong with these transistors. I think there's one for RGB, there's one for each color, so there's one for red, one for blue, one for green. Might be there's two that have been re-soldered here, so maybe there's something wrong with that. Or it might as well be that one of the little inductors on here is short, which seems to be pretty common from what I've read. Might be just something on this board here that's broken. Yeah, from what I've read, that's a possibility. There's little inductors here for each color, and there might be one that's gone. So I'm going to discharge this again, and then remove the board and see what I can do. Maybe there's a pop this time that you can hear. So let's zap it again. Let's see. Yep, there was a pop. I don't know if you could hear it. There's our inductor coils. There are these little brownish looking ones, and these ones here, there's another two. These are all inductors, so I can probably just go in there with the multimeter and check them all. These might be the controls for red, green, blue, so it might be that there's one of these resistors, variable resistors short, or one of the transistors here. Seems to be one got really hot and desoldered itself, so it may just be a problem there. Yeah, we'll see about that. The diode here seems to have been replaced as well, or at least resoldered. We'll see. So I'm just measuring all the inductors here. This is on ohms. So the inductors are conveniently marked with these little wavy lines on the back of the PCB, so it's not that difficult to measure them, and they should all be very little ohms, nearly shorts, otherwise they are shot. Okay. .3. 0.9. Okay, that's pretty normal so far. 0.8, and this is the last one, I think. 0.9. So the inductors all seem to work fine. So maybe the resistors are short. Let's see what the resistors say. This should be 3.9, which it is. This should be 3.9. 3.9, alright. So the resistors seem to be fine. I'll measure okay. What about the variable resistors there? Let's see if they have something or if they are dead short or something. So this should be okay. Yeah, these seem to be fine. It might also be that the tube in this CRT is broken. Maybe we should just replace the capacitors and see if that changes anything. Could check the diodes as well. We should really check them out of circuit, but I think we can see if they work in circuit maybe. Yep, that one works. Yeah, the diodes are probably fine too. Maybe something with the connections, maybe something else. Maybe something with the connections on the other side of the board there. I think I'm just going to take out the main board and I'm going to, yeah, probably. I don't really know if these transistors are good. So there's some inductors down there too that might be shot. And there's some capacitors, some resistors looking pretty nasty. Get in there. There's some potential meter that has been replaced, I guess. Which looks strange. I'll have to get to the main board there and have a look around. There are some mods. Okay, I'm just holding my flashlight there to point to this. Do you see this little adjustable pot there? There's a little blue wire coming out from the top there. That's not factory. There's somebody was in there and modded that. That might very well have something to do with the color adjustment. So I measured around a bit and I found some dry joints and cracked joints on this connector here. I have no idea what that is for, but I am going to solder them back on anyway. It's always harder to troubleshoot, I find, if someone else has been tinkering with it. So I don't know what the person who was in here before did really, so no idea. This is our little joint here. You can see that it's just wiggling. There's no connection whatsoever. Don't think this is causing the color issue we were experiencing, but this is definitely going to be resoldered. I'm just going to add some solder here to both pins. And I also found some capacitors that are slightly going high on ESR. I used my trusty Atlas Peak ESR Plus, ESR 70, which can measure capacitance and ESR for capacitors. Got this a while back and it's really handy to measure stuff quickly. It even manages to measure most things in circuit, which is very, very handy if you don't want to spend an awful lot of time desoldering and measuring out of circuit. And yeah, Really recommended tool. It's really expensive for the little job it does. I got this when I was doing audio repairs. So this was the one showing as bad. I'm just going to desolder that first, I guess. And it is really brown, so maybe this got hot at some point. So fast forward to a couple of days later. Didn't have any time to work on the monitor any further. But in the meantime, I did a bit of research online, and I found a service manual for this thing. It isn't the best quality. It seems to have been faxed around or photocopied a couple of times before it was made into the PDF I downloaded. I'm going to put the link to the PDF down below for you to see. But at least we can see some of the parts pretty well. And this is obviously is the tube, and there's blue, green and red guns. And I suspect that only the blue gun is firing, so we get the blue picture we had. So I'm going to mark this. This is obviously seems to be working. And I suspect that these two are not working because a part on the way is not working. I measured around a bit and the diodes in the way seem to be fine. The resistors seem to do something. So this is a transistor that is responsible for the green, and this is a transistor. These are high power transistors that the drivers for the guns actually. So they get quite warm in use and might be prone to failure. I don't know. Also, these are the two transistors that have been soldered and they have been tinkered with by somebody. So, and I think what I'm going to do is to basically follow these paths, and might also be these transistors here. Further down, or in the end it might be anything really in these paths. So I hope that it's just a transistor failure, so I can just replace the transistor and swap in a new one. You can still get these, I think, and it would be quite an easy fix. So what I'm going to do is to measure around a bit and follow the path here. The designators for the components are not very clearly readable, but I think I can work it out. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow the path for the green and the red guns and see if there's some failed components on there. It's going to be fun. Hopefully that's going to fix it. So this is TS711. This is TS712. This is TS713. And on our board here, we can see that this is TS11, this is TS712, this is TS713. This is the one for the blue, and this is the only one that hasn't been hacked. So this had some solar residue on there. This has had some solar flux residue rather on it, and a lifted pad and stuff like that. So I suspect that this one might be alright, and one of these, or both of these rather, could potentially be damaged, faulty. It might also be the person that had a go at this before, realized that these are responsible for the red and the green gun, and tried to, or desoldered them and tested them in some sort of component tester. That might also be a possibility. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is to try to determine if these are alright. First thing I can do is to measure resistances. Usually, if you have some transistors to compare, you can get away with this and see if there's a short across something or something like that. It's okay. It's like mega. So these seem to be alright. Might as well be the other ones on the board. Okay. This is like the same readings for all the chips. This is like, yeah, they seem to be, at least they seem to be the same values resistance wise. and there don't seem to be any shorts. So these are probably most likely fine. That's probably the person before desoldered them to have a look if they are good. Of course, this is not a very scientific test method. I should desolder them and test them in some sort of proper component tester, but I think I can get away with this because one of them is clearly good, which is TS713, which is the one for the blue, which works fine. So what we are going to do is to follow this lead, basically, where the picture, the signal, comes into this neck board, and follow it to the board. And there are 3 more transistors. Hopefully it's the same as on this schematic. So on the board there are 3 more transistors, TS604, 605, and 606, I think, or 505, 506. I can't really read it. This is a pretty bad copy, but we're gonna find them, I guess, and see if those are good. These are the 3 transistors responsible for the RGB signals being sent to the guns. So I'm going to measure these, I think, and measure around this a bit. There's a couple of resistors and capacitors that could be faulty. There's also 3 coils that could potentially be, they are suspicious as well. Alright, so let's have a look and measure with the multimeter, just like we did with the larger transistors on the neck board. This is an interesting botch here, but it seems to work fine. So I measured the resistance there, and it seems to be okay. It's another form factor than the part that was originally in here. Somebody clearly did some troubleshooting and tried this thing too. Maybe they tried the transistors as well. I don't know. Maybe they replaced some. I don't know. Let's have a look. So, my transistors are these ones here. This one, and this one. The 3 ones here. They are marked as TS606, TS605, TS604. And they have not been resoldered or replaced in any way. So maybe it's one of those, or 2 of those rather. Must be 2 of those if they are the same. So let's see. Maybe they blew, or maybe they have some odd values. Let's see which one is the blue one. The 606 is the blue one, so this one is the blue one. This should be our reference. So that's emitter positive and base negative. It's a couple of kilo ohms, like 12K. So emitter, that's the same. So the coils maybe. This coil is alright. This coil is alright. And this coil is alright. That's odd. So maybe it's the tube after all. It might be. Yeah, they seem to be absolutely fine. Same measurements. So I measured around a bit with the old multimeter, and I couldn't find any broken components that are obvious in the path. So what I'm going to do is to replace some of the capacitors that I found suspicious and try if that helps any. I don't know if they have anything to do with the part that is broken, but at least I found that they are not in a very good nick, so let's just replace them, I guess. And yeah, maybe I find something else on the way, but I'm not sure. It could be So this one, it's pretty dirty, but it might as well be good. Because I measured in circuit, I'm going to measure again out of circuit, but I'm going to replace it anyway. And I'm also going to do that with the two other capacitors I found to be slightly off specifications, so it's really pretty boring. I'm just desoldering and resoldering components with the same values basically. So I'm using a 100 microfarad 16 volt one to replace the 100 microfarad 16 volt one, which is a regular capacitor. I think there's no special characteristics to this. So now I have my good old Commodore 64, the trusty everyday use model connected up. I don't know if this is going to blow up. I replaced the capacitors that I found that measured a bit weird and did a whole lot of poking around, redid some solder jobs. The transistors seem to be fine. I don't know if it's due to the connections to the transistors seem to be fine. I don't really know what the issue is. Maybe it's just a broken tube, which would be a bummer because I can't really fix that, I think. Or it might also be something I didn't realize now yet. Seems to be that the picture is blue, which is of course the Commodore 64 picture is pretty blue, so we're not going to see anything right away, but we're going to see if this still works. So fingers crossed this doesn't blow up right away. Oh no. Okay, it didn't blow up. That's a good sign. And it does, seems to have degaussed the monitor, so there should be something on there. Okay, so there's nothing really. Oh, there we are. Okay, it's still okay. It's pretty blue, but for a Commodore 64 you could get away with it. The sharpness does work. Brightness turned all the way up. This is the contrast. The color. Okay, so the color saturation potentiometer works. Okay, just switched off, that's not a good sign. Just gonna unplug it all. Just switched off, so that's not good. Don't really know what's happening, so this is definitely not healthy. Let's try and plug it back in, maybe, I think. That's the only thing I can think of at this moment. Ah, bummer. This is kind of a headache. So it was working on the blue one. And the picture is quite good, actually, but it's only blue, clearly. I mean, the Commodore 64 basic screen is blue, but it's not that blue. It's only blue coming through there. So, now it's completely off, which is not good at all. So probably maybe some kind of power supply issue too. So this might just have too many issues to fix in time for Christmas. Yeah, I'm going to keep looking for the fault, but I don't think I can fix this thing in this video, which is of course pretty much a bummer, but yeah, I have to do this series in time for Christmas, so the next part is probably going to be another thing, and I have a backup plan for using my Philips monitor that is one that I actually used, or at least my sister used on her Amiga in later days. So this was the model of monitor my father used. I never used it really, so it was kind of a shot into the blue. And yeah, if I didn't get this to work, I'm going to use either my green monitor, which was, I think this actually a model like this was the first monitor I used on my Amiga 500 because I had it from my Commodore 64. And then I later used a black and white monitor.
I never had a color monitor on my Amiga myself until I got my Amiga 2000 in like 95, 96, something like that. Pretty late in the Amiga game. So that would be more authentic even if I would use a green screen monitor. But I so much wanted to fix this. And I'm going to definitely going to try. If you have any ideas what this is, please feel free to comment or write me an email or something like that. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this anyway. I am going to troubleshoot this further, but I don't have the time to get into this now. Maybe there's going to be another part if I can find the fault. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this, stay tuned for more. This Christmas series is going to continue. I am going to recreate my Amiga setup and hopefully I'm going to do it in time for Christmas, and then I'm probably going to play some games on the Amiga, on my original Amiga 500, which is, I hope it's working better than this monitor. If you really like this channel, subscribe. Check out my Patreon page. There's always going to be some behind the scenes stuff if I find the time to do some extra stuff. So, thanks for watching. I'm Jan Beta. See you next time. Bye.